Hello there, it is Miriam here from Miriam Pearson from Sweet Creations. Hope you're all keeping well. I'm just popping on here to do just a very quick little live demo for you. I wanted to just make some simple leaves. It's lashing rain here in the morning, today, so there's not a lot I can do outdoors, so I just thought I'd make some very simple little leaves, and I'm going to share with you just how I make them. Very easy, really good filler leaves. So they are, and just nice and easy to make. Don't really need any cutters. I'm not going to use cutters for these ones. So I just thought I'd share with you how I do them. So what I do is I'm using some little veiners. These are just some gardenia veiners that I have. I just want to make a kind of pointed leaf. So they're just a little gardenia veiner that I have here. And really the only equipment that I'm using is I've got 28 gauge wire, I've got some edible glue, I've got my rolling pin, and my cutting wheel and my veiners. So that's kind of really the equipment that I'm going to be using. Also, I will show you how I make using a veining board. If we want to do that there, we can do that as well. And then I just need some flour paste. So I'm using this, my own brand of flour paste. A lot of you guys will use this already from Sweet Creations. So it's just my own brand flour paste. And I shall show you how I'm just going to colour up a little piece of it. So I make these quite a lot in lime green sort of. It's just a really good colour. So let me just clean these off here and we'll get started. The lime green is just a very good colour for doing foliage of any sort, really, because it really makes arrangements pop, and I used a lot in my flower arrangements. So I'm just going to take a little piece of white flour paste. Now you can use a gel colour if you want to do that. Of course, and you can use, but I'm going to use a powder colour. Okay, so what I'm using is, this is vine green dust. So just let me, I always have a fear that I'll spill these dusts everywhere, which I have done. So I'm just going to take my flour paste. I'm just going to take a very tiny little bit of vine green, just a tip of the knife of the fine green. I hope this light's okay. It's absolutely dismal here today. No chance of getting for out and about, I can tell you that. So we may as well make some flowers. So I'm just taking a very small little bit of dust. You can, if I was doing a big batch of this, I'd probably mix the dust through with a little small bit of white shortening, or my Crisco or Trex or whatever I have to hand, just to let it blend in a little bit further. So we just keep blending that through until I get a fairly pale green colour. Now what you want to remember, I'll probably deepen that a little bit, I think. What you want to remember as well is that your colour will develop as the paste sits. So normally I have a couple of rules. When I'm colouring up paste, I'll always colour it up until it's almost the colour that I want it. Then I leave it sit for an hour, because the colour, it will develop a little bit over time. Within an hour, or often if I was doing a big batch, I'd leave it maybe overnight just to let it develop. Also, I only ever colour my paste in daylight. So I don't colour my paste at night time if I'm under artificial light, because it will throw the colour a little small bit different. So it's just a couple of little rules of thumb. Colour it just till it's, especially if you're trying to match a colour, you know, maybe for bridesmaids or for wedding cakes, for different colour, for different occasions. Just leave it until it's almost the colour you want. Let it sit then it should develop and it'll deepen a little small bit, and you should get closer to your colour, okay? So you can see we've just got a nice lime green colour, really fresh. This is a great colour for fillers, for buds, for like leaves and foliage and everything, and a few little sprigs of this through the arrangement will really make them pop. So I'm just going to pop in a piece I was working with earlier, so they can all be the one colour. Okay, also if I am making this for cakes, so if I'm doing leaves or foliage for cakes, I will mix up a little bit more than what I think. It's very hard to gauge kind of how much that you'll need, so I mix up generally a little bit more. And then I'm not trying to, if I run out, I'm not trying to match the colour, because it's hard to match it up. All right, so once you've got that worked, coloured up and kneaded in, you're ready to go. So you just need your wires. I've taken a length of 28 gauge wire and I've cut it into six So they're quite short little stems. I don't want them long. They're going to be taped together in a stem, so I don't need them long. I've got my cutting wheel. Okay, so this is the usual one I use. If I was doing bigger leaves, I would use this guy here. This is for quilting and embroidery, so it's got actually a very sharp wheel on it, but it's also a very fine wheel, so you can use that guy there as well if you're doing bigger. And then I just have my rolling pin and my edible glue, so they're nice and easy to do. So always when I'm not using the paste, I do pop it into the tub, okay, because you don't want it to dry, especially, you know, if you're in a warmer climate, you don't want it to skin over. Take a small little piece of paste, roll that into a tear ball and then into a teardrop, okay? And then what I do is I take one of my wires into the glue and I'll wipe off any excess on the back of my hand and place the wire into the paste. Just give that a little pinch. Now with my paste, you don't need any corn flour generally. I'm not going to say never, because you might be in a very warm climate, you might have hot hands, you know, so you generally don't need it, but if you do, absolutely use it. And then I just gently roll over that. I'm not rolling it out not rolling very heavy on it, because I don't want the wire to kind of poke through. You can take your cutting wheel then, and with the bigger end, you can just give that a little trim, just so it's the size that you want. Okay, so these are nice, as I say, commercial leaves, certainly not for competition, but for commercial leaves, they will work a treat. So we just want to pinch that, just going to cut that a wee bit tighter in there. Okay, just so as we get that little taper. Then what I do is I want to take my veins. So the bottom veiner will always be the vein that dips in, that goes on the bottom. So we want to center that up there. And my top veiner then goes down on top, and just press that down nice and lightly on it. Okay, and you get a leaf. Release that off, and then I just want to tidy that in the base. Give it a little bit of a curl, okay? And you can just press that. And then what I do, and I have a batch here done, so what I do then is I just leave them to dry on my bumpy foam pad. It's probably one of the most used pieces of equipment, I would say, that sugar florists would use. It's hugely, apart from I guess your rolling pin and veiners and that. I'm just going to do another one there for you as well. I'll just do a very teeny one. Normally what I do when I'm doing a stem of these guys is I will make a small one, 2 medium, 2 large. So a stem will have 5 leaves on it. So small, 2 medium, 2 large. Just make a little teeny little one here. And you can see the wire is not very long. It's only about 2-3 inches. So it's not very long at all. Doesn't need to be, because you'll end up wasting more if you cut them at very long lengths. You end up with a lot of waste. Okay, so just trim that back down so we get that nice point on it. Okay, you can leave it rounded, of course, if you want. These are just sort of a fantasy leaf, I guess you'd call them, that they're not botanically correct, but they will perfectly work for your cakes and fillers. Place that on, press down your top veiner, and just give it a little bit of a coax into a V and a curl, and onto your bumpy foam pad then, so it can dry. All right. If I want to use, if I don't want to use that method there, where I'm just inserting in the wire, I can also use my veining board. All right. And basically what I do there is I just take a piece of paste. Okay. I'm hoping that this is live, because I'm trying to pre-record it for you and then place it up, because my internet is a wee small bit sketchy today with the rain and the weather. Okay, veining board then, this has grooves on it, and you can see this is very well used. I've done thousands and thousands of leaves on this. So it's got different grooves in it. They will be different depths. So the bigger the leaf, the deeper the groove you use. This would be my most used end of it here. So it's only a couple of mils deep. All right, so I take my piece of paste, and again, I don't need a very big piece. Roll it into like a little cone shape. Place that down over your vein. And doing this is how I would work for all my competition work. I can get the leaf obviously much finer. And what happens is you then have, that little seam on the back of it, which is the groove that the board just left. Okay, We turn that back, we cut out our leaf. So again, I'm starting, go out and back in and up to a point, out and back in up to a point. You can use templates, you can use a cutter if you want. I like these because it's quick, but also each one will be different, which is what I like as well. So when I take my leaf, just hold it between your thumb and finger. I'm taking the wire and I'm just dipping the end into glue, so just to coat the wire, and then I just insert the wire, maybe no more than 1/2 centimetre. For me, no more than 1/2 centimetre, so the wire stops here. If it's a thing that your wire keeps poking through, you've gone a little bit heavy on your the gauge of wire that you use. So for example, if you used a 26 gauge and it kept poking through, you want to go to a 28. So the higher the number, the finer the wire. Just go on a nice fine one. You don't need a very heavy wire for these. They're light, so you don't need a heavy one. We press that down. Now, when we take the veiner off, the ridge that the board caused is gone. Okay, so the veiner will get rid of that, and you've got these nice little veins on the back of it. Okay, again, just tidy that up there at the base, give it a little coax into a curl. You can either hang it upside down, so you can place a hook on it and hang it upside down if you want, or as I say, what I do is the bumpy foam and I just place it on just to let it dry. All right. So that's how I make the leaves, just very simply. And as I say, I have a few kind of different sizes that I've made here. All right, so we've got a couple of smalls, bigs, larges. So then what I do, I leave them dry. Generally when I make any leaves or any flowers, before I start dusting, I prefer to dust them when they're dry. So I'll just clear off my tools and equipment, because the dust, as you know, will travel absolutely everywhere on you. So what I do then is I leave them dry, because I find it easier to handle. If I start to dust this now, because it's still fresh, chances are I'm going to break it or I'm going to pull it off the wire, you know, and it just gets, I find it difficult, even at the leathery stage, I find it quite difficult to dust. Okay, so what I do is I will just take a small piece of kitchen towel. So we've got that here. I've got a couple of brushes, so I've got a green and a pink brush. I generally keep brushes for their specific colour, so then I don't cross on the colours of them. Then I can use, this is just like a cerise pink or a magenta, so you can have a bit of a play with colours here if you want. You can of course leave it green, so we can use the vine green again. So just take out a wee bit of this. Okay, just, I mean, a tip. You really don't need very much of it at all. They go a long, long way. So just be certain. Okay. I mean, these just, this one will, I'll be buried with this, because there's so much in it. There's lots in it. But it's one of the vine greens and the apple greens are my most used colours. Take out a little small bit of the cerise, which is a fabulous magenta style colour. Also, you want to be careful that if your colours are non-edible, then they must be removed off the cake. They can't be eaten, obviously. So I'm just going to select a couple that are dry. I just don't want the fresh ones, so we'll take out a couple of these guys here. Yep. All right. Now, so a couple of ways you can colour up. You can take your green, and I just, with my brush, and I like a flat brush for these, I'll go from the centre up just a little bit. You see how it kind of just highlights those veins in the center? So we can do these guys. You can, like I say, have a play with colour. You can use darker colours. And you see, you only really need, you'll mix it, the dust first of all, and then you kind of just take off a little bit of the excess. You don't want dip into the dust and then onto your brush, because you'll just get this blob of colour that doesn't look so good. So just work that in. Work it onto the brush bristles, at least, that it's nice and even. Okay, so up the center. Doesn't really take that long to do these guys. When you're doing a few of them, when you're doing a few branches, you tend to get very, very quick at dusting. And when I'm doing a lot of dusting, I actually wear a dust mask, so I'm not inhaling it so much. Okay, so we've got a few flowers there, that are leaves there. That's just done in your green. Okay, I'm going to just take these couple here, so we can just see he's still a wee bit wobbly, but we'll go on him. Then I'm going to switch over and just give you a different option for a different colour. So here I've got, this is the magenta, the cerise, okay? And all of these products that I'm using, they can all be purchased on my website. So I've got the lime greens, I've got the magenta, the wires, the flower paste, tape, the paste, everything. It's on my website, which is here at Sweetcreations.ie. So just slightly different combination. I've taken the magenta colour there and I'm just coming up the centre. So I'm putting a little bit on the brush, but then I'm mixing it in a little bit, just so it's not so intense. And you see, you get this wonderful variation of it. So it's just a nice extras. Sometimes if you're trying to match a colour, say for wedding cakes, and if it's a very strong colour, you don't want it to take over the cake, but you want it to be kind of subtle enough, and this kind of blending work will work really well for kind of stronger colours. So it will be enough to pop through on your cake that they'll see it, but it won't overpower it, because sometimes with strong colours, if you use too much of them, then all you see is the colour. So we do the same again. I'm lightly, just very, very lightly dusting it. Also, you'll see my finger is always behind the leaf, so that's supporting it there, because if you remember, our wire is only coming up a few mil up the length of the leaf. So if you just go at it, you can snap off, especially the little pointed tips. Okay. I mean, I know a lot of people will use gloves and everything when they're dusting. You can do that if you've got a hot date. Absolutely. I don't mind. I never do. I prefer to feel the leaf and the flower, and I find if I wear gloves, I lose that feeling on it. So you see the difference just that the little bit of colour can make on it there. What we want to do then is just, let me pop those over out of the way there. So what we want to do then is we just want to tape up a stem of it. Now what I use mostly for stems is this fine green. It's the light green florist tape. So we just take a little length of that, and just let me get rid of this because there's dust on it also. So I would normally put this in a box so that I can come back to it then. I can move it easier in a box. I just hadn't got mine to hand this morning. Okay, so I'm just taking a little length of the vine green florist tape. All right. Now, when you first use florist tape, you'll see it's dry, so it's not doing a whole lot. What you do is you take a length of it, stretch it. So stretch. Now it becomes tacky. So when you stretch it, you release the glue, okay, and it becomes tacky. If it's a thing it's not releasing the glue, it may just be an old thing of tape that you have, and it just might be kind of dried out a little small bit. Pop it into a Ziploc bag and into the fridge for a few minutes, and it kind of reactivates it. I put my tape on at a 45-degree angle to the wire and just give it a turn. Slide that tape up so it's up nice and near the leaf. Come down a couple of turns, and because my tape is at a 45-degree angle, it'll naturally travel down the wire. Then I'm going to take my next leaf. Let me just select this size up. Yep, next leaf. I lie this now on the leaf above it, turn. Now I slide this down, so I'm just pulling that wire down and out to the side. My next one, so I'm going up in sizes, so I'm graduating the sizes. Same thing, couple of turns. Don't worry if the leaf spins, that's fine. Take your wire, slide it down and out to the side. So you start to form a stem. I would often do stems with 3 leaves and then some with 5, so I'd have a bit of a mixture. Okay, now we're on to our bigger leaves, and that's an odd size, so I'm going to go on these two because they're more matching in size. Lie it up along the stem this way, then it'll centre for you, because often what you'll see is that people bend the wire and then try and tape it in, but actually it tends to break a little bit more. Slide that down. So I'm sliding that. You see how I can move it into place, and I can get it nice and secure there. And out to our side, and our final one, lie it down. This is why it's easier when everything is dry, because it's just easier to handle. Slide that. So my tape all the time, my left hand is holding the tape and it's stretching it out as I need to as well. So just slide that down, out to the side, and you come down long. Now, if you wanted this as a long sort of a trailing stem of leaves, well, you can always put in a carrier wire when you start, so you can start on a wire and tape your leaves all onto the one wire, and that will give you a longer stem here. Depends what you want to use it for. So out to the side, and you see it gives you a nice little branch of leaves. We'll do this one then also, so you can see. So we start with our smallest again. Tape goes on. And these are just, they're easy ways of using up. If you have made flowers and you have a little piece of paste left over, I'll not do this one in pairs. I'll do it in single leaves so you can see the difference. But if you have a piece of paste left over, you know, after doing flowers, make off a few leaves. You'll always use them. Even if it's in a yellow or a pink, you know, pink leaves over dusted in green looks fabulous. Really, really lovely. And I'm going in graduating sizes as well. Most leaves have this, most branches of leaves have the small leaf at the top, and then the leaves get bigger as down the branch. A few exceptions to it, one being the rose, where you have a big leaf at the top and then smaller leaves down along the branch. So here I'm staggering the leaves. So we just place these on, a couple of turns, slide down your leaf out to the side, and you just get a staggered branch. If it's a long stem of leaves and they're getting a little bit heavy, turn it upside down to finish off the taping. Okay, so that will give you then a staggered leaf. Still a little bit soft, but that's okay. Then what you can do is that you can take some sprayed lace, and I have a couple of roses made, so you'll be able to see these. And all I'm going to do, I'll just do this off camera. So this is just a sprayed glaze. I use dipping glaze as well for some leaves, and I'll just give it a quick little glaze. Sorry now. So just a quick glaze. I do it off camera because I don't want glaze on my green board. So just that it gives it that wee bit of a shine. Same on this guy here. That's better. You always have to keep these. So you see what it does is when you glaze like this, what it actually does is it blends in the colours for you a little bit, and it just gives it that little small bit of a shine. And then what you can do, so I've got a selection of roses here that I've been making. So you see how the green leaf will really make those roses pop. There's a pink. You see how it will make, these are not quite finished yet, but it's just a batch of roses that I'm making. You know, we've got different colour roses that will go with all of these colours, obviously. So you can make, I've been busy. Rainy weekends, that's what it's for. This is my prep weekend. This weekend. So you can just tie those in when they're fully dry. So once I have those glazed, quite often I'll make these off, as I say, with a piece of paste, no matter what colour. And then when I go to tape them off, you can see how they'll stand in behind and they really make an arrangement pop. So guys, that's it. I just wanted to pop on just very quickly, as I say, you give us all something to do on a day like today, and just make some leaves. It's been my pleasure. Hopefully that will help you a little small bit and you'll enjoy to making leaves. Be sure to pop them up. My page is at Sweetcreations.ie. So if you make some leaves or foliage, be sure to send them on there on the page, or share them and tag my page and I'll see them. All right, take care guys. Have a good day.